everyone, and welcome to the Geary, Stein and Stevens Show, an amazing video podcast with sports stars, entertainment celebrities, and other great guests, combining one host who has no legs, one host who lives in Duluth, Minnesota, and another host who seems to never be on the show. But now, on to the show with Troy, Dave, and maybe even Will.
Well, ho, and welcome to another edition of the Geary, Stein and Stevens Show. I, of course, is Dave Stevens coming to you from the home offices here in Bristol, Connecticut. And, of course, I'm always joined by my co-hosts. No Will Stein tonight, but I've got Troy Geary joining me from a chilly, cold Duluth, Minnesota. Troy, how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great, Dave.
And you staying warm up there?
Oh, yeah. Actually, you know what? This winter's been surprisingly warm so far. Not a lot of snow. Well, I'll take it.
And the Vikings have cooled off, so, we hope that they can still stay afloat, and we can talk about them on other episodes. But I have a great guest tonight. We were hoping to get him on to talk about a world championship, but that wasn't in the cards. But Brent Strom is a pitching coach and a former major leaguer and a great guy and all-around good person. Brent Strom joining us for the show tonight. Brent, how are you doing? Are you staying warm out there?
Well, I noticed the Arizona State sweatshirt. I live down in Tucson, Arizona, where the Wildcats are, but I'm neither a Wildcat or a Sun Devil fan. I went to USC, so I'm living and dying with my Trojans, and lately I've been dying a slow death with the SC football team, so a little bit difficult at times.
This is going to be a fun show to talk about. You mentioned your college career. People don't realize that you won 2 national championships in college, and that must have been exciting back in those days as far as when the Pac-10 was the Pac-10 in baseball.
Well, actually, it was the Pac-8. There was no Arizona State or Arizona, but I got a chance to play for the legendary Rod Dato, and had some great players. I remember a pitching staff that consisted of myself, Jim Barr, Steve Busby, Bill Lee, and then, of course, Dave Kingman was on the team. So we had some really great talent, but it was a fun time for us, and a time I'll never forget.
You coached some great pitchers over the years, Verlander, Cole, Greinke, I can go on, Gollin. What makes them so special, and how much have you? I mean, I'm sure you've helped in their progression over the years, and just kind of give us something about each one.
Well, I have been very fortunate. It's interesting, all the accolades that I have seemed to have accrued late in my career. I always refer back to what Bill Parcells once said. He said, "Writers write, coaches coach, and players play." And I've never forgotten the fact that it is a player's game. And so, in many respects, each one of the guys that you mentioned had certain skills that made them stand out.
Really difficult position to put your team.
And it was, a group of guys that were highly competitive, always wanted to learn. And I always thought that the 2 greatest attributes that all of them have is they have an open mindset and are extremely competitive people. And when you have that combination, a lot of good things can happen. So all of them did it a little bit differently than each other. And so as a pitching coach, you need to identify those strengths, continue to keep the strengths strong, and on occasion kind of dabble with the weaknesses. But most important thing is keep your strengths strong. I learned that from Whitey Herzog. And so each one of them does that.
Brent, what makes a good pitching coach? I mean, everybody can go out there and teach and stuff, and I know they actually have to execute, but what makes a successful pitching coach that then reflects that in the performances of the players?
Well, I think it starts, first of all, with a knowledge base, a philosophy that you believe in. I think the pitching coach himself has to continue to evolve and learn. I do think that's very, very important that you have a different camaraderie with each. You have to know each individual, what they react to, whether they can take criticism or not, when to pat them, when to do different things with them, and quite frankly, when to leave them alone. I think that's one of the greatest things I learned as a pitching coach, is to know those times to just let them speak to you, ask a question, and let them reflect back, and have them talk back to you instead of you always talking to them. So I think those are a couple of the vital points that I've learned throughout my career. Early in my career, I just wanted to keep talking and teaching and do this, do that. And I realized it wasn't the best way to go about teaching. And so you have to kind of pick and choose your spots, keep it as simple as possible. Basically, simplicity on the far side of complexity, and hopefully they will achieve the goals that they're trying to get.
Yeah, speaking about your style, I've seen that basically you're still old school, but you use some analytics. Just kind of talk about that. I know this year, with your Diamondbacks team, especially in the playoffs, games 1 and 2 against the Phillies, little issues, and then you decided looks like you had more pitches up in the zone. So kind of just talk about your philosophy and then kind of adjustments you made in that NLCS.
Well, it's an interesting comment you just made, because this is quite interesting. What happened was when I came over here from the Astros, I was dead set on teaching the elevated fastball, teaching the four-seam fastball, utilizing pitching inside, and really I didn't do a very good job of it my first year or so. Second year a little bit better, but we still have ways to go. So in the playoffs, what happened was, in studying the Braves versus the Phillies, I noticed even a guy who throws as hard as Spencer Strider, both Murphy and Desarnais, the two catchers, never sat inside on any right-handed hitters. They always sat middle away. And I thought to myself, this is odd, because I thought, and then the 15 times or so in the 2 times that Strider pitched against them, remember, this is a guy who throws 100 miles an hour, 98 plus. By accident, he threw 15 pitches up and in, or inside at the belt, to right-handed hitters. The Phillies had 5 foul balls and 10 swing and misses. Excuse me. So my philosophy going into this thing was, excuse me, was to recognize that outside of Turner and Baum, every one of them had a lift swing, or they kind of tilted their head and were looking for balls middle away. And Turner and Baum were the only 2 that were really flat bat guys. And so what I emphasized to the guys, let's run heaters up and in, and then use breaking balls off the plate, and we had success.
Well, those successes hopefully will continue into next year. Brent, I'll let you get what for going into next season now. You kind of have that hangover of a World Series loss. What's that pitching philosophy going to go into next season for you?
Well, I've been all winter long, I've been afraid of regression. I've been a little bit worried that there would have a hangover. The big concerns for me is a guy like Gallen, who threw 240 innings, and we have to get started a month later. So that's a big concern. I do hope that I'm already working with a couple of the young starters to get them up to speed, because some work needs to be done with guys like Allen, guys like Nelson and Henry and Ciccone, those guys. So I'm trying to work with those guys that are in line to be the number 5 starter. But Gallen, a little bit of concern. That's a huge workload, and reminds me of the workload that the guys had back in the 70s with the Carltons and the Seavers and those people. So it's a concern, no question.
And when you talk about those guys that, he wanted to never come out of those games, it's also your job to make sure that they are there from the beginning of the season to the end of the season. And how tough is that for you when you pitched in those eras where everybody goes out and goes 7 or 8 innings? How tough is that now to have these young guys go, hey, you should worry about 6, focus on 6 and those best 6 innings?
Well, I never tell them to go 5 or 6. I always try and stretch the envelope. I want them to experience, which Gallen did in Chicago in a 1-0 game, to walk off the mound and shake some hands coming off the mound. Because as my favorite pitcher of all time, Sandy Koufax, once told me, he says the greatest thrill from a pitcher is to be pitching in a hostile environment on the road and shut a team down and hear nothing. They hear silence. And I think that's what I'd like each of them to experience. at some point in time in their career. And the complete game is kind of gone by the wayside now. But I do think that we can stretch the envelope. I don't know if 100 is the number just because it's a nice round number. I think each pitcher is different, and if they utilize their pitches correctly, don't waste a lot of pitches. I think you can still get guys to go 6, 7, 8 and help a bullpen. That's what we had in Houston, and it was successful.
Well, we are for the first 3 innings of this show, so we're going to take a little break. I'll clear my throat. Brent can clear his throat. We'll play a couple commercials and we'll come back. This is a great night. We're going to talk baseball, talk about Brent's career before he joined the Diamondbacks. Don't go away. You're watching Geary, Stein and Stevens.
Hi, everybody. Dave Stevens from the Geary, Stein and Stevens Show. And, you know, Troy and I are on the road all the time covering games, doing things, my motivational speaking. But I have connected with LifeWave, which has really changed my life. And it's an amazing patch that not only helps me to live my life, it keeps me very active. Tammy Wellman is joining me. And now, Tammy, you put these patches on me. It is a stem cell regeneration plan. But tell us a little bit more how it works.
Yeah, so these patches are amazing. They're wearable wellness. They're non-transdermal patches. Nothing goes in your body. Your body gives off light. They capture it and they activate your body's own repair system. Your body goes to work to heal things that are in need of healing. Pain reduction, things like that.
It gave me an opportunity to play in the Celebrity Softball Classic. This video of my base hit, I wouldn't have done it without these patches. So please, if you want to know more about this product, go to patchit.life. LifeWave, it's changing my life.
We told you all year long, and now we have to holler. We ruined all our hopes and scratched out all our hearts. So freshly dressed, that's the sight to go. With hundreds of amazing shirts and places to spend your dough. Oh, freshly dressed, will light your shopping load. And save you all for $47 at checkout with our GSS show code. The GSS show code.
Welcome back to the Geary, Stein and Stevens Show. My guest is Brent Strom, and take a look at that young, good-looking guy. Pitched for the Mets, the Padres.
You're killing me, man. You're killing me.
22 career victories. Hey, people forget you were there. I mean, you were there, and I think that helped. What did you take from your career that helped you become such a good pitching coach?
Well, first of all, let me say thank you very much. By the way, I love the commercial I just saw. That was great. I always, when I do clinics, I always like to tell people I was a 22-game winner. And then under my breath, I tell them it took me 3 years to get there. But you know, I was the second person to have Tommy John surgery. And looking back on my career, I was self-taught through a lot of innings as an amateur coming up. Pitched a lot of innings in college, through high school, and started to have some arm issues when I signed with the Mets out of USC. And then it was kind of a slippery slope from then on. So I've kind of dedicated my life after the Tommy John surgery, where my career stopped at age 30, became a pitching coach in the Dodger organization to try and monitor the arm action, to understand how the body moves, to try and be as efficient as possible. Because a lot of these young men have hopes and dreams like I did, and I would have loved to have been a 10 to 15-year major league pitcher. It didn't work out for me, but I kind of think I found my niche in coaching and teaching. And, you know, I know it's a good job for me because I never know when the 1st and 15th of the month comes. And I just really enjoy my every day, just kind of getting to learn a little bit. I'm still doing research to try and help myself become better because I really don't want to. I'm sure I've given some not intentionally, but given some information to pitchers in the past that maybe wasn't the right way to go about things. So that always bothers me, and I just want to get better each and every day to help these players.
Speaking of helping players, the D-backs just signed Eduardo Rodriguez. How excited are you to work with him, and what do you like most about his game?
Well, you know, I talked to AJ Hinch, my former manager with the Astros, who was Eduardo's coach up in Detroit. This is a guy, from what I understand, and I've watched him from afar. A really good changeup, good fastball, cutter. Um, does need to work his spin a little bit. We'll have to work on his spin a little bit, but this guy likes to go deep in the games. He does not like to get taken out. He wants to give you 7 innings each and every time out. Really good control. And from what I understand, he's going to be a real competitor for us, and that's what this organization needs. Last year, we kind of had a two-headed monster in Kelly and Gallen, and then Fott came on late. But from then on, we were scrambling most of the season. Fortunately, our bullpen came through for us in the second half of the season. The addition of Seawald, Ginkle stepped up, so we got through it. And but I think we're going to be much better served. I tell you one thing, Mike Hazen's done a great job. He went out and he got Suarez from the Mariners, play third base. He got Eduardo Rodriguez, and then I found out today one of my favorite players, Lourdes Gurriel, is back with us. Is going to be playing left field. So that's really tremendous. I just got back from Cuba. I did a clinic in Cuba for the pitchers, for the coaching down in Cuba. My first trip to Havana, and of course they're all looking at Yuli and Lourdes Gurriel. They're big fans of them. So really a fun time for me.
Brent, what has it been like? I've had the chance to talk with Tori last year when we were down in Miami, and you and I got to hang out a little bit, and just a laid back, low key kind of guy that just seems to really be a player's manager, and to see what he's done with especially the young kids that he got to really excel and bring in a mix of the veterans and things like that. What is it like to work with him and his staff?
Well, Tori cares. He really cares about these players. He tries to put them in the right position to succeed. He is very positive approach to this game. I think he realizes how difficult this game is, and as such, he doesn't bury hitters or bury pitchers. He has closed door meetings. Some of them I've been in where he's had to kind of let them know the truth. The truth is always very important for Tori. It's like I heard a quote one time by Jim Leland. He said, "Tell the truth to a player, and he'll be mad at you for the first 24 hours. Lie to a player, he'll be mad at you from then on." So I think Tori lives by that rule. That he's a truth teller, and really been a benefit for this organization. And so the only thing I dislike about Tori, quite frankly, is he's a Bruin, and I went to SC, and somehow we're trying to coexist. But I know he has a huge collection of UCLA memorabilia in his office, and I snuck a USC baseball cap and hung it in his thing. I don't think he's seen it yet. It's kind of in the corner of his collection. So one day he'll see it, and he'll probably throw it away.
Speaking of collections, where do you keep your World Series ring?
Well, I'm looking I have in the left drawer over here, across my living room. I have a really nice collection. I don't wear them, but I'm very proud of them. My initial ones were when I was a AAA pitching coach for the Dodgers. My late father and I were in Chavez Ravine when the night Gibson hit the home run to win the first game of the World Series against Oakland, and then I won another one with the Dodgers. One with the Cardinals, and then of course in 2017 we won, and so it's a nice small collection. I have a lot of AAA memorabilia, also a lot of championships in Albuquerque. So they're nice memories. But I think the biggest thing is you think back to the games, you think back to the moments, and it's just this game is special, and when you can achieve that monumental big win or something like that, you never forget it. And I will tell you this from the bottom of my heart, and I think every guy that's ever done it, never a day goes by in my life where I don't think about having pitched in the big leagues or had the opportunity to coach in the big leagues. And I think it was a dream of mine as a youngster, and being able to achieve that dream despite not achieving what I wanted always stays with me.
Brent, is this going to be a little easier this year for spring training, that you're not going to have to deal with as much the retraining of pitchers with the clock and all of the things that changed the game early in the season. I think, is that going to be easier for you guys going forward?
Yeah, I think that part will be easier. Like I mentioned before, I do hope that we come in with a hunger, and they were not satisfied. I think that's the biggest fear I have is because if you really look at it, to truth be told, we did an amazing job getting to the World Series. But when you really look at it, we were one play by a right fielder for the Cubs not catching a ball against the Braves. The Cubs lose that game. We were one game away from, if St. Louis doesn't beat Cincinnati on the last day of the season, we don't go because they had the tiebreaker. We were one pitch away from not getting to the World Series when Ginkel threw a center cut fastball with 2 men on to Harper in the 7th inning, and he flew out to center field. So I am well aware of how close the edge is between winning and losing. I don't like what you're showing me right now on the screen, but that's okay. I understand you have to satisfy your Texas people too. So I understand the margin between winning and losing can be very fine. And but we're really fortunate that we got hot and had a little bit of luck on our side to be able to experience this.
And it's got to be bittersweet because you won a World Series for the state of Texas, and then you lost a World Series to the state of Texas. And you've been on both sides. A lot of players don't get that opportunity, managers. I mean, was that the lowest of lows for you in your career amongst the highest of highs?
No, it's funny. The biggest loss that I felt, I've been in 4 World Series. My record's 1-3. Lost to the toughest loss that we had for me was when we lost to the Nationals on the Howie Kendrick home run that hit the right field pole. There was stuff that was led up to that game that, with Greinke on the mound, we had Cole ready to go. We brought in Will Harris, who had a great cutter. And the numbers, here's a case where analytics can kind of sway your attention. Kendrick was 1 for like 105 against cutters, and he happened to hit this one and hit the right field foul pole, and we lose to the Nationals. So you kind of go, wow, because we had Cole ready to go to pitch the 8th and the 9th, and we never got to him because they blew us out in the last 2 innings. So that was the most difficult. Then we lost to the Braves, and then losing this time to the Rangers. It's difficult, but you also have to look back and realize we were one of 2 teams out of 30 that were playing at that point in time. And it was really great for this organization, for the state of Arizona, and for the people in Phoenix. And hopefully that'll carry us over to this next year.
Yeah, as born and raised in Arizona, I was hoping that they could do it. But the surprise to get there was part of the excitement, just to ride that with you guys and to just see the excitement of the young players and everybody coming together. Somebody does have to lose, but it was still amazing. So we're going to put a bow on the rest of this show. Stay with us. You're watching Geary, Stein and Stevens.
Easter Seals is the largest nonprofit provider of disability services nationwide, helping kids and adults with autism to achieve maximum independence. People with autism are at higher risk for mental health conditions. 85% of autistic kids have at least one. That's why we're working to help autistic people with complex behaviors and mental health challenges. We are Easter Seals.
Hi, everybody. Dave Stevens here for the Geary, Stein and Stevens Show from Tropicana Field, home of the Tampa Rays. And you know what? Not everybody can be a Major League Baseball player, but you can look like $1 million. What's the best way to do that? Well, go to freshcleanthreads.com. Don't believe me? That's right. You can look professional, feel good, and not spend a lot of money by wearing Fresh Clean Threads. They have amazing shirts. They've got Henleys and polos, long sleeves, and even bomber jackets. And if you like them, you can save some money by typing in the show code GSS Show from the Geary, Stein and Stevens Show to save 20% off. So if you can't be a major leaguer and you want to dress like one, well, go to freshcleanthreads.com. That's freshcleanthreads.com. Tell them Dave sent you. Use that code GSS Show.
Welcome back to the last part of a really fun show, catching up with Brent Strom, the pitching coach for the Arizona Diamondbacks. And Brent and I have a mutual friend in Dave Clark, of course, the only pitcher that ever played in the minor leagues on crutches when he had polio, and he was able to overcome that. And, of course, I got to play minor league baseball without legs, and now I've gotten to know Brent, and it's been neat to just talk to you about baseball and get to know you and see, the amazing things that you do when you teach the young kids. So, I'm just curious, when you've seen guys like Verlander and all these guys, do you tell them, to ease up or to how you're going to prolong their careers to like, what's the secret now to the arm successes for these pitchers?
The thing with guys like Verlander and those guys, they have a lot of mileage on their arms, but what I've realized that they become their own best coaches. And so my job is to really to guide. I utilize a technique, what I call guided discovery. And what I'll do is I'll make a suggestion, and the strength comes from that suggestion is when the player himself feels it and decides that this is what he wants to do, not by me telling him what he needs to do. I can present evidence. I can present ideas on sequencing, on utilizing the strike zone in the right way, utilizing speeds and distances and things like that. But when I was able to look at Greinke and Verlander and Cole, and to that point Charlie Morton and Gallen and Kelly and these exceptional pitchers back in the day with Dallas Keuchel when he won a Cy Young Award. I learned as much from them as they do from me, I think. And I think if you gain their trust, you don't try and overcoach, and you basically, if they know that you have their best interests at heart, then I think that they will gravitate towards you. It's interesting. I'm sure the general public believes these guys that are making 20 million, 30 million bucks a year and everything, that they have it all figured out. Believe me, they have as many fears and as many doubts as a rookie does, primarily because they want to be great. They want to be the best in the game. They're not going to rest on their laurels, and really, they want to be recognized as the best of their era. And I told Verlander this. I said, you to me belong pitching back in the '70s when I came through with the Seavers and the Carltons and those kind of people, that Kuzmans, those kind of people, that Gibson. They came to the post. They posted 32 times and were throwing 280 innings. And that's what made Gallen's year so special to me, is the innings pitched and posting up. And you look at the history of people, and you look at a Koufax with 40 starts in a season, and you go, wow, that's unbelievably special to pitch every fourth day, to post up and give your team a chance to win. And so that's the era that I really reflect back on, and with a lot of interest, and want these guys to try and emulate as best they can, given today's circumstances.
One of your assistants last year, Barry Enright, just got hired with the Angels as a pitching coach. What does he bring to the table to that organization, and how proud are you, having assistants in the past, get jobs like that?
Well, Barry is very, very sharp. I was lucky when I joined the club 2 years ago. Came aboard as an assistant pitching coach. He's not that far gone from actually pitching competitively. This is a very sharp guy, a big time learner, understands the analytics, understands movement patterns, was always asking questions, which I appreciated. I learned a great deal from him. I hated to lose him. There's no question that he and Dan Carlson benefited me a great deal. They allowed me to kind of look at a lot of big picture things while they took care of a lot of the details that go on in a 162 game season. And I think Ron Washington has got himself a good one over there. He really does. He's going to do a very, very good job over there, trying to help that organization, a different voice. And I'm excited for him. He's getting started at a very young age, but he's much more further advanced than you would expect for a person in their late 30s getting this opportunity.
I'm curious as far as we just saw that the Dodgers signed Ohtani this week, and other than you seeing him occasionally, now you're going to have to see him a lot more, only as a hitter this year. But what are your thoughts about him now? You guys have to compete against that guy all the time.
Well, I saw enough of him when I was with the Astros. Okay, so I'm well aware of Shohei Ohtani, a special talent. There's no question. It's funny when you look at the body of work that he's done. He's special. He is so quick. He coils his body so well. Probably one of the greatest athletes we've ever seen. We have a plan to get him out. I kind of know we had success in Houston, and I'm going to try and fall back on that. I'm not sure that hitters really changed very much. I think they are who they are. So without giving away any secrets, we'll do what we can. The problem is that we have to navigate Freddie Freeman and Betts and Smith and along with Ohtani, and then you have the other group that's right behind them, and so to navigate that lineup is going to be difficult. But we're going to embrace the challenge and do what we can to beat them. I think beating them last year in the playoffs, I think, did wonders for this organization and this town. And I think that if we can just get in, I've often said to my wife, in a short series, anything can happen. And if we can get in, we're dangerous. And that's what we hope to do.
Troy?
I asked Dave McKean the same question a couple years ago when I was talking to him in Kansas City. But what makes you keep coming back every year? Is it teaching the young kids the love of the game, or is it both?
Well, quite frankly, after we lost Game 6 against the Braves in Houston, I think we got shut out 6 or 7-0. I was in a kind of a despondent mood. I was going to retire. I had purchased a place in Mexico that my wife and I were going to spend a lot of time down there with our dogs. And a couple days after that, I got a call from the D-backs. And I asked my wife, I said, what do you think? And, she knows my love for this game. And she's been a partner of mine going through this for the last 30 plus years that we've been married. And she lives and dies with our pitchers and the success or the failures that they've had. She knows how it affects me. But I saw it as a challenge, quite frankly. I feel like things were going so easily in Houston that outside of retirement, I wanted to embrace a new challenge, much like I did in 2014. When I joined the Astros, the team was coming off 3 consecutive 110 season losses. When I joined the D-backs, they were coming off 3 consecutive 100-plus losses. So I wanted to see if what I had learned through my time with Houston, with the great analytic group that they had there, and the coaches and the players that I was fortunate to be with, if I could bring that to the D-backs. And the first year we had some bumps, but we were better. And then last year we kind of put it together. But now we have a little mark on our back now, and so we're going to have to step up to the plate. And we're in a tough division, and that includes even going into Colorado, which scares the hell out of me all the time anyway, with that ballpark. So we'll see how this season plays out.
Speaking of stepping up to the plate, I couldn't find any of your career hits. You did have 8 career Major League base hits. You had a triple. You had a double. You hit .333 your final year in the big leagues. But of all the memories from your Major League career, is there that one moment and I'm not talking about as a pitching coach, but as a player, what was that one shining moment of your career that you might think about once or twice a week?
Well, I remember I got called up out of Tidewater, drove up to New York. My first game was against the New York Mets, and Willie Mays was playing first base. And what I remembered, quite frankly, was behind home plate was the late Doug Harvey, who is from San Diego and used to officiate my high school basketball games when I played basketball at San Diego High School. And he was behind the plate. And I remember, I think it was Ken Singleton was batting third. I got the first 2 guys out, and then I threw a fastball away, or kind of middle away to Singleton, and he rifled it into right center field. And Tommy Agee roamed over into right field by the fence and caught the ball. And as I walked off the mound, I remember Doug Harvey taking off his mask and saying, "Son, welcome to the big leagues, but remember, you're not in San Diego High School anymore. You better get the ball down. And that stuck with me. I couldn't believe, here was my the great Doug Harvey, one of the great umpires of all time, remembering my time when he would call me for traveling or blocking or a foul at San Diego High School.
That's awesome. And guess what? We've reached another milestone tonight because I think, Troy, do you think we might be the only show that have had the first two Tommy John surgery candidates? Yeah, because we had Tommy John on earlier this year. So it really is amazing to see two of the pioneers in this thing. But as far as the surgeries and things that are happening now, it seems like that pitchers used in the old days, they would try to put off surgery and play through it. And now they just go ahead and get cut. They know they're going to sit out a year and they're going to be back just as stronger as ever. How do you reteach those tools and mechanics when you have to deal with a pitcher that's gone through something like a Verlander?
Well, first of all, let's thank God that Tommy John had it first, because if I was the first guy to have it, they'd be calling it BS surgery. Okay, and I don't think that would play real well. So I know Tommy very well. 288 wins, deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
Absolutely.
Tommy was my pitching coach in AAA when I was the coordinator for the Expos, and learned a great deal from him. But he utilized the late Mike Marshall, a lot of his work that he did, the pitcher who threw 106 games one year, 200 plus innings for the Dodgers. And I think what we need to recognize is, despite the advances in the surgery and everything that we do, it's still a surgery, and you have to be very leery of the fact that we have to make sure that we don't ruin all the young pitchers that we have at the youth level. A lot of coaches who want to win games at the 10-year-old, 11, 12-year-old level. I know myself, I threw way too much. My workload was too high. My strength wasn't ready to handle that. I think my senior year in high school, we had a 26-game schedule, and I was 20-3. I would do the math. That's not really an appropriate way for a 170-pound left-hander to look at much of a future. But I was able to eke out a little bit of a big league career. But I think we need to be very cognizant and aware of workloads, of movement patterns, strength, a lot of those things. And so, just don't jump to the idea that this Tommy John surgery is the end all and be all. It's amazing what they've done, and pitchers have come back from it. But you look at the Clemens, the Maddixes, the Nolan Ryans, and those kind of people. A lot of things that really helped them, quite frankly. Let's take Seaver and Nolan Ryan, for example. In the late 60s, the Vietnam War was going on, and they had to do National Guard duty. So they weren't physically strong enough to handle the workload. So if you look at their innings that they pitched at that period of time, they were throwing 60 to 70 innings at a very precarious age. And by so doing, it allowed them to mature, their body to mature, and then they end up becoming 300-game winners late in their career. The research that I've done has showed that the majority of pitchers that have won 150 games by the age of 30 do not win 300 games in their career. The majority of the 300-game winners won the majority of their games post 30 years of age. And so that goes to tell you that we need to let the body mature before we allow these workloads to take over. The problem is when you have a prodigy like a Hernandez in Seattle, a Dwight Gooden, a Wally Bunker back in the day, a Gary Nolan back in the day, those kind of people, when you're really, really good, they're going to run them to the big leagues. And when you're 19 years old, like a Brett Saberhagen, and you're throwing 250 innings as a 19 or 20-year-old, that's a prescription for failure down the road. But a lot of times we're a little short-sighted in our thought process.
I'd take a look back at Billy Martin when he had all those pitchers throwing all those innings back in the early 80s, and Keogh and all those guys, and it just ruined a lot of their...
What he did was, I know what you're talking about, the Norris and that whole group. And, and basically the ones who took the brunt of that is when they ended up going to Chicago with the White Sox, a couple of them they blew out. They blamed Gene Lamont, the manager there, but the die was already cast from what Billy had done that staff out in Oakland. So, you know, a lot of times it's the residual that kind of finds its way, and you know, then blame is cast on the person who happens to be manning the post at that time.
Well, Brent, I want to thank you for joining us tonight. I have one last question for you since it's the holidays. Put you on the spot. What was the best toy you ever got for Christmas?
Well, it's funny. The best toy I ever got was my dad had, when I was a young kid, he got me a little train set, and but he also got me a pitchback. And so we set the train up, the train set. My dad was all excited. He put it all together. I played with it for 5 minutes, and I went out and took the pitchback and started throwing the ball against the pitchback for about 2 hours. So that was the best gift I got, even though my dad thought the train set would be the key. But I was constantly throwing the ball against the garage, pretending I was Whitey Ford, pretending I was throwing against Ted Williams, just playing little mind games. And then my little Stratomatic game that I got as a gift, where I kept statistics. And to show you how stupid I was, when I started playing the Stratomatic game, I didn't know how to do batting averages. So in my little mind, I thought, oh, I see how it does. Everybody starts at 1,000, and every time you make an out, you get dropped 2 points. And that's how I thought they used to get down to, you know, 300. And I used to cheat like a son of a gun when my man Ted Williams would come up, and I would spin the thing, you know, and 1 was a home run and 10 was a strikeout, and it'd be right on the line. And I'd want Ted to hit the home run, so I'd kind of lean a little bit to the left to make sure that that little arrow was pointed at the home run, and I'd put it in my scoreboard because I wanted Ted to do well.
I was an APBA baseball man myself.
There you go. There you go.
But great memories. Brent, we wish you the best of luck. We'll see you sometime when Troy and I can get to a Diamondbacks game. And happy holidays to you and your wife, and best of luck to the Diamondbacks next year. Troy?
Hey, this is a great show, man. I'll tell you what, I've enjoyed this a great deal. This is good.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah,
Troy?
Brent, again, I want to echo that what Dave said. Appreciate you taking time out of your busy night to join us, and we look forward to another great season next year.
Good deal, man. Look forward to seeing both of you.
All right. For Troy, for Brent, and myself, I'm Dave Stevens. Happy holidays if you're watching this. If this is in January, well, hope you had a great Christmas. Goodbye, everybody. We'll see you next time on the Geary, Stein and Stevens Show. Thank you to all of our fans and all of the support on your home TV, Roku, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all those places that you can find us. Continue to follow Geary, Stein and Stevens everywhere. Bye-bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the Geary, Stein and Stevens Show. Follow us on social media. Watch us on yourhometv.com, or now we're on Roku. Download it and watch us. And thanks for tuning in. Until next time, America.